like to welcome everybody to the Legal and Finance Committee for the City of Rapid City from January 29th, 2014. The first order of business is the roll call and determination of a quorum. Here. Thank you. Next motion of business is the adoption of the agenda. We do have one item to add, and I will be adding item number A3, which is to approve the appointment of Bill Kesloff to the Compass Committee. Does anybody have any objections to me adding that item? Any other additions to the agenda? I'm going to call that item A3A, excuse me. Any further additions to the agenda? Okay, moving on now to general public comment. Now is the time for the members of the public to discuss or express concerns to the council on any issue not on the agenda. Action will not be taken at the meeting on any issue not on the agenda, except on placement of the agenda by unanimous vote of the council members present. I have no speaker request forms for anything for general public comment. Does anybody wish to speak on any items not on the agenda? Seeing none, I'll now move on to consent items 1 through 25. Now we're going to open public comment on items numbers 1 through 25. We didn't adopt. Did we not adopt? Did we adopt the agenda? I apologize. Okay, I go back into the adoption of the agenda. Make a motion. Okay, motion by Wright and a second by Laurenti. And Charity Doyle wishes to speak.
Well, considering this item is just being added and we don't have any information on the appointee for this particular position, I'm not sure I would like to consider that today without information. What was the intention of handling it today?
I don't know. It was brought to me by Mr. Richie Nordstrom as before the... Richie, would you like to address that real quick?
Thank you. Committee members, Richie Nordstrom, City Councilman for Ward 2. The concept behind this is to get Bill Kesloff appointed to the Compass Committee to take over on the February meeting, which is coming up in 3 weeks. And so because of the timing and the schedule of everything and everything that, shall I say, confidential information had to be dealt with. And the process that worked through, the timing was just off. We were like 2 or 3 days behind the agenda deadlines, and to meet that, and that's why it's being walked on today, so that we can get that appointment confirmed.
Background checks and all of that have already been completed?
Yes, everything has been cleared. The search committee has done the interview with him. All that information is collected, and some of it, if not all of it, has been added to a summary sheet. And if it's not on today's agenda, you don't have that summary sheet? And
that's why I bring up the question, having been very involved with that organization, knowing that the appointments to this committee are treated quite differently, and we had nothing to verify that that process was followed. So
I understand, and we've got that information to the staff, and obviously the timing situation, we're just a few hours behind on getting that information to you, so it should be on Monday night's council meeting links as the regular agenda item. You will have all that information attached to the summary, and if you've got any questions on it, then we can certainly go through it again on Monday night.
Thank you for clarifying, Richie. I appreciate
specificity with that.
Next up is Jerry Wright.
I'll let you know that the Compass Committee liaisons talked to me about walking this on today, so it'd be available for Monday night, and I okayed it. Thank you.
Alderman Laurenti.
We haven't adopted this item, am I correct?
No.
Maybe I'll wait to speak then before I speak on it, so.
Okay.
Thank you.
So with motion on the floor is to adopt the agenda with the addition of 3A, approve the appointment of Bill Kesloff to the Compass Committee. All in favor say aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Okay, sorry. Moving on now to public comment on items, consent items numbers 1 through 25. I currently have no speaker request forms for items numbers 1 through 25. Does anybody wish to speak on those items? None appearing. I'm going to close public comment on consent items numbers 1 through 25, and like the council to ask if there's anything they'd like to remove from the consent items numbers 1 through 25. No lights. I myself would like to remove item number 3. I'll explain why in a minute. Item number 3 and number 3A will be removed for further discussion. I would entertain a motion to adopt the rest of the agenda. Second. Okay, we have a motion by Doyle, second by Laurenti to adopt the items 1 through 25 exclusive of number 3 and 3A. All in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Item number 3 is to confirm appointment of Kevin Lewis to the RSVP Advisory Council. I'm just going to abstain for voting on this, as Kevin is my brother, even though there's no real benefit to be gained for me. I just think it's probably not proper for me to vote on it, so entertain a motion. Okay, motion by Wright, second by Laurenti. Any further discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Okay, item number 3A is to approve the appointment of Bill Kesloff to the Compass Committee. Mr. Chair recognizes Steve Laurenti.
Thank you, Chair, and if I can, I would like to ask Councilman Nordstrom a couple of questions, if possible, please.
By all means. I can't guarantee he'll answer.
We'll give you a good answer. Yes.
Richie, can you repeat again for me what you said? I just want to make sure I don't ask something that you
Sure.
said previously about the items that will they be on the agenda for the Monday night?
They will be. We've got all the information to staff, and again, it's just a matter of hours. We're behind on getting everything linked up to the council, the Legal and Finance Committee agenda, so we just missed it by a matter of hours. So the information is available, so if you've got anything specific on any of the questions of those links that will be coming Monday night, I can try to answer them right now.
When will it be attached to the agenda for Monday night's meeting?
I'll have to get it confirmed through staff, but I'm assuming it'll be this afternoon. We'll get
Okay,
it.
that's plenty of time for me. I just wanted to make sure that everybody on the council had time to.
Okay.
We're getting a head nod of no, though, so.
Correct.
Okay.
Okay, which is still plenty of time, so. All right, thank you, Richie, appreciate it.
Thank you. Chair recognizes Charity Doyle.
Make a motion to roll to council without recommendation.
Do I have we have a motion by Doyle to go to council without recommendation, second by Laurenti. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. Mr. Kesloff, you do understand, sir, that that just means that it will be on the non-consent items and will be discussed, so they can have time to look at it a little further if they wish. So. Thank you, I do. All right, thank you. All right, moving on to non-consent items, numbers 26 through 28. I'm now going to open public comment on those items. I have no speaker request forms on those items, 26 to 28. Does anybody wish to speak on those items? None appearing. I'm going to close public comment on items 26 through 28. Item number 26 is an RFP for publishing, and Chair recognizes Jerry Wright.
I was just going to suggest that Pauline talks about this. Thank you.
Pauline Sumption, our finance officer.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. As you will see in the documentation, there really are 3 options for you to consider. It will all depend on what your priorities are and what your wishes are. First option listed is to continue to use the Rapid City Journal as our legal newspaper, which would require all of our legal publishings to be printed in that, and then to continue to publish items in the Native Son News, anything that is not time sensitive in nature, without declaring them a legal newspaper. There are some processes in place for public hearings that would delay the process, and I give the example of liquor licenses. Right now, we can set a public hearing at one council meeting on a liquor license, and we can hold the public hearing that very next meeting. If we went to a weekly newspaper, it would require a meeting and then 2 meetings later actually having the hearing. So it would delay that process for 2 to 3 weeks, depending on if there's an extra Monday. So that's why we don't want to declare them a legal newspaper, because of that delay. And it's not just in my office. There are delays also with resolutions, ordinances, any public hearing that community planning has to hold. So if you utilize both of them for those purposes as outlined, with the non-time essential items being published in the Native Son News, I would need approximately $55,000 supplemented into my budget based on their proposal. I did have a call into Jackie Gallego at the Native Son News, and I hadn't heard back, just to talk about font size, because there's state law says depending on your circulation, you can only have font no smaller than size. Well, the Native Son News can be no smaller than 8 font, where the Rapid City Journal can go 6 font. So I was going to have a conversation with her about that. Anyway, that's option one. Option two would be to go strictly with the Native Sun News based on the price proposed in their response. And then option one would be to go strictly with the Rapid City Journal based on circulation and frequency of publication.
Thank you, Pauline. Chair recognizes Steve Laurenti.
I make a motion to approve option 3. And I'd like to maintain the floor if I can get a second.
We have a motion by Laurenti to option 3 and second by Doyle. You still have the floor.
Thank you, Chair. And after reading these options on this and hearing the finance officer, and she's not saying it, but when I'm reading these options, we're looking at significant increases in cost. And in my opinion, it appears that the process is going to have some delays, especially in when these notices need to be posted. And it seems to me we're complicating the process and adding an additional burden to the taxpayer, and I'm not going to be able to support that, and that is why I'm supporting option 3. And it's supporting the current process, and I believe it's not broken. It works well for the city, and we need to continue to do business where it works the best. So, thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Laurenti. Chair recognizes Alderwoman Doyle.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Question for Pauline, if I may.
By all means.
Trying to remember back to the budget hearings when we were first discussing this item, and if my memory serves, we were considering doing something like this to reach more people. What was the primary driving reason that we looked at this?
One of the reasons that I recall is the demographics are different as to who has the Native Sun News subscriptions and who has the Rapid City Journal subscriptions. And there are some items that are legal notices that we publish into the Rapid City Journal that the Native Sun News subscribers may have an interest in. And so there was discussion at that time about putting, well, we did increase some of the things that we put in the Native Sun News. We put in job notices in there, and then we added the election notices as well, so that way they were aware of what was going on in that realm. There was discussion about putting the minutes also in the Native Sun News, but I believe Jackie said at that meeting that she did not want to take the legal newspaper status per se away from the Journal, but she just wanted more published in there, in their publication as well. Does that answer?
Well, do we have any actual data on how many people actually read that stuff? I mean, it's tiny and you get lost.
I honestly couldn't.
I've tried. It's not a fun thing to do.
To read the legals,
Yeah.
I couldn't tell you how many people. All I can.
You know, being in, the municipal league, and have you heard of any other communities that have gone to posting these online so that everybody has access rather than having to have a subscription to a newspaper? State
law does not allow strictly only publishing online for a city website. We've looked at that proposal before. The newspaper industry obviously lobbies against that. I do believe there are some rules that allow you to put it, in addition to, but nobody is going strictly to the web-based.
Is that anything that's being worked on in the legislature?
Not that I'm aware of, no. I do know that it's part of the South Dakota Municipal League's statement of policies to support online publishing only, but nothing is in the works this year.
Because I would just think more people have access to an online source than they do maybe the dollars for a newspaper subscription, regardless of the subscription source. But if it's about reaching people and making that information accessible, we can't force them. Okay, we put it out there. It still doesn't give them the dollars to purchase a subscription to the paper so that they have access.
Correct.
And if our goal is access, I just don't know that we're going in the right direction with this. So.
And our minutes are already published on our website in addition to the Journal, so anybody could look at our minutes online for free. The actual public notices, I know sometimes there's things on the front page about either an RFP or going out for bid on something, but it's not consistent throughout the city as far as what other items are being posted on our website.
Okay. Well, I appreciate that, and if you do come across any data that's been collected, I'd be interested in seeing it.
I will tell you the feedback from the other finance officers, they don't think many people read those legal notices.
Well, it's quite a substantial expense for us, and, you know, the state is mandating it, therefore we have to acquiesce, and I just don't know that, I think we should try harder to get that changed.
Last year, the city spent over $80,000 with the Rapid City Journal on publication notices.
Okay, thank you, I'll yield.
Okay, any further discussion on the motion on the floor is to approve item number, or option number 3 for RFP for publishing? Any further discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Item number 27 is second reading and recommendation of ordinance 5978 regarding supplemental appropriation number 1 for 2014.
Second.
Motion by Laurenti to approve, second by Doyle. Any further discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Item number 28, second reading and recommendation of ordinance 5979 to codify method for calculating the general fund cash reserve balance by amending section 2.40.140 of the Rapid City Municipal Code. Motion approved by Laurenti, second by Doyle, and Alderman Wright has the floor.
We're on 28, sorry, it was.
Correct.
I just want to continue my discussion of the other night in that we monitor this very carefully because the calculation I have is there's about a $2 million+ difference between 15% and 10%, and I agree with being conservative and careful, but let's make sure we don't have $2 million sitting in the bank that should be working for us. That's my only concern, and that we monitor, check this on an annual basis, just so we're not wasting money. You know, you can, if it's not working for you, it's not doing any good. That's it. Thank
All
you.
right. Any further discussion? Motion is to approve. All in favor say aye. Aye. Motion carries. Motion to adjourn, please.
Second.
All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. We now adjourn. Sorry it took so long.